Last night at the convention, Melania Trump, that's all they're talking about today, is they're talking about her possibly plagiarizing the speech last night. We good? Are we on? Lee, are you there? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we're live already. We're waiting for you. Let me introduce, this is Lee Snover. She is a delegate from Pennsylvania. She was on the floor last night putting out. First of all, Lee, thank you for being with us. Good morning from the office. And thank you for all of those updates. You did an awesome job. I followed it to 11 o'clock. I mean, I felt like I was on the floor with you. Great job.
And it's unbelievable. Jeff Sessions is here right now. He's speaking to the Pennsylvania delegation. Pennsylvania is getting a lot of attention because we're an extremely important state. You cannot get to the presidency without going through Pennsylvania. It's a must-win.
I got a handful of questions because I know you want to hear Jeff Sessions speak to the crowd. I heard him last night. Handful of questions. The floor fight that the media wants to blow out of proportion. Tell us about that. You put up a picture of the empty chairs in the Virginia delegation. Tell us just a little bit about that.
Okay, mostly it was Virginia, Utah, and Colorado. And what it was is it really wasn't a vote to unbind the delegates or the unbound. That's not what the vote was. It was a vote to shut down the Rules Committee, the rules which had been passed for the next convention or the next election cycle. But what happened is this fight to shut down the rules was being led by the unbound group. So no one trusted them. So what happened was there were some conservatives and good people running that, trying to stop the rules, and because they didn't feel they were grassroots enough. But I didn't agree with that. I got some information on that, and I didn't agree with that. But anyway, they used the same organization of the unbound delegates for their movement. So everyone who was a Trumper didn't want them to advance in any way, in the fear that if they did change these rules or they got the rules voted down, it would be an opening for them to do something else. So what we wanted to do is to not let them advance. They wanted to push for a roll call vote. If they had gotten a roll call vote of nearly 2,000 delegates, it would have thrown off last night's speaking schedule for the media and everything. And that's what they really wanted to do. That's what I think. I think it was an ugly approach to disrupt. If they would have had to read close to 2,000 names and recorded that data, the whole speaking schedule would have been thrown off. So it was the unbound delegates really making a last-ditch effort to do something at the convention.
Okay, a couple more quick questions. How was the lineup last night? How emotional was it on the floor? Because for me at home, the sheriff from Milwaukee, the two gentlemen that did the timeline, and Marcus Luttrell. I mean, just how emotional was last night's first night?
It was electrifying. It was like I couldn't believe how great the speakers were. I mean, you hear these speakers all the time on the news, but when they come there, and I feel that they really, they're not being asked like the same questions over and over. They really got to say what they feel, what they've been wanting to say to their base. It was just electrifying. I got to tell you that David Clark had, I think, the largest, except for Melania and Donald Trump coming out, Sheriff David Clark had the largest applause.
Yes, he did. You're right about
him
that.
And Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani was a barn burner.
Yeah, I know.
He let loose. I think he thought, you know what, I've been in the Republican Party, I've given a million of these speeches, I'm letting loose tonight. It was a barn burner for him.
Well, because I only watch C-SPAN. I will not watch any of the media groups because I only watch C-SPAN because I just want to hear the speeches and I won't want to hear anything else. And I want to decide if it was electrifying or good, and I want to hear. That's why I'm trying to talk to delegates. I don't want to talk to these other people. Yesterday morning, Paul Ryan addressed your delegation in Pennsylvania. He waved a terrible towel yesterday in the room. I seen that, and I seen the video you put up. The media wants everybody to believe that Ryan's not on board yet, and he's not really committed to this ticket, is what you hear. How did you feel yesterday in the room with Speaker Ryan?
Okay. I definitely think Speaker Ryan's committed to the ticket and wants to win. I truly believe that. But I don't think he's crazy about Donald Trump, and I think that's okay. I think it's one like the song, Love the One You're With. I think he's going to do whatever he can to get Donald Trump elected. He's just not his favorite candidate. But no, he's on board. He's on board. The people that I question are, the Bushes, the Kasichs, the Romneys, those people who are not on board. Now, I heard rumor that they have worked to get Kasich on board, and he's going to be speaking. Now, I don't know if that's true, but he's coming. Here's what I don't like. He's coming to the Pennsylvania delegation tomorrow morning, Governor Kasich is, to address us, but not speaking at the convention. So I am not going to go. If he's not speaking at the convention, I'm not going to the Pennsylvania delegation for him to speak to me there.
All right, so if Kasich is not going to get on board at the convention and he addresses the Pennsylvania delegation, you will not attend.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Be on board with
Donald Trump at the full convention, at the full assembly, not just coming in Pennsylvania, because he's very, very strong with the Pennsylvania delegation. Ohio, Pennsylvania. He was actually born in Pennsylvania. So, but no, if he's not on board, go to the breakfast.
I think he's an embarrassment, and I agree wholeheartedly. One more thing before you went out there. The Morning Call, which is they print 1 million papers a month in a week in the Lehigh Valley. Big publication there, folks. The Morning Call, you made comments concerning Pat Toomey not attending, and your Congressman Charlie Dent made some strong comments. Is there any talk within the Pennsylvania delegation or out there about who's not attending?
Yes, and all the reporters are asking about it, and all of my supporters back home are asking about it. Now, Toomey made a statement that he didn't have any votes in Ohio. There was no point of being here. But you know what? I disagree. It's for an entire week. You could come for one day. One day. Just show up for one day. So he's using that there's no votes here. But you know what's here? His workers and his base.
Thank you.
So he should come see them for one day, thank them, elevate them, and energize them, and he didn't do it.
Well, here's the thing, and you know it all too well because you've worked in the Republican Party for 20 plus years and actually have been active in helping elect candidates, is people need to realize these are not just delegates. These are actually usually the workers in the party. These are the people that go home and go to work, not just go to a convention. So Toomey's making a major mistake of not going out there, addressing the Pennsylvania delegation and saying, when you get home, I need you to work for me also.
Absolutely. I think he could have been here at least one day. We're in the Northeast. Pennsylvania's, I'm really envious that Georgia gets, the more conservative, the more Christian visits. I mean, you guys got a visit from Ben Carson at your breakfast.
Yes.
I mean, we had Don Jr. this morning. That was exciting, Don Trump Jr. And but we tend to get a little bit more of the Northeast visitors at our breakfasts and stuff. But I have not met Ben Carson, but I would have loved for him to come to our breakfast. I did ask our party chairman if he could get together. So just one thing about, the states like that, they get the more, the more conservative visits than we do.
Last question, and you can go back. I know you want to see Jeff Sessions. You got a full day lined up. Melania Trump, the media is wanting to come out. First of all, great job last night on Blue Lives Matter. Great job last night with Marcus Luttrell, Jamal, everybody that came out, Tom Cotton, Scott Baio. I watched every one of them. Great job through the roof of supporting our men and women in uniform, supporting our law enforcement, and bringing that to the forefront of the conversation. But the only conversation this morning is Melania Trump stole the line from Michelle Obama. Is there any conversation there at the convention?
Oh, that's horrible that they're saying that. And you know what I think? It's like a personal attack on her, and I think it's terrible. I mean, you had to go and try to say she stole Michelle Obama's speech. Really? That's all you had?
Exactly.
That's what you had to do? Really? She was very elegant. She was very genuine. She was precious, and they are ruining it, and I think it's sick. And I'll tell you what else is I am disgusted that Megyn Kelly had Black Lives Matter on last night. A representative from them, and, I just think that's wrong, too.
That's a terrorist group.
This is, have them on during the Democrat convention because that's who they represent.
It's a terrorist
represent
group.
us.
Black Lives Matter is
Exactly.
a terrorist group. They
And that's who Megyn
endorse.
Kelly debuted
Yeah,
last night.
I understand.
That's
I understand.
terrible.
Well, I put the 2 pictures up of Melania that you took from the side there. Are you on the front row? Are you right?
We are, Pennsylvania is the front right of the podium. Our state is right at the stage. And we mix around where we sit. And last night, I actually got to sit in the front for a few hours. So it was very exciting. So I had some good photos. Most of my photos are a side view, but we're still right in the front.
Hey,
So
listen,
it's
I've
pretty
got
awesome.
guys texting me this morning saying they were fine with the Melania Trump side view. Trust me.
Oh, yeah, I know that. Isn't she beautiful? I said she was precious.
I got guys
So,
texting me. Well, listen, anything big today, and then take off and go hang out with the delegates and politicians. Oh, what a scary thought.
well,
Anything
like
big
I said,
today?
we heard from Don Jr., Jeff Sessions, and Joni Ernst was here. So this session starts a little later today. It's like a regular session. I think it starts at 4:30 or 5. Yesterday we go from 7:30 in the morning to back in my room yesterday. And let me tell you, there's some delegates who really do what they were called to do. I never left my delegation. I did the cheering. I did lock her up. I did lock her up so loud I lost my bag and went flying 2 feet behind me. Now, there's some delegates who come and then they just go shopping or they just pictures made somewhere, but they're the hardcore delegates that are, roaring it up for their state. And I was one of those. I did 7:30 to midnight last night.
I know, I seen your pictures.
Until the conviction, the benediction, it was completely over. So we're really rocking it out because Pennsylvania's right in the front, so we really got to rock. But I got to tell you, California's rocking it out. I was amazed. They have a lot of energy. Their delegates are dedicated. I mean, you have a be keeping you inspired, like a cheer. And California is really rocking it out. They're really good. So if you take a look at the delegation, they're always pumped. And Texas is always good. They got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah,
too.
I see them with their hats and everything. Now, the only thing I got to do now is call Jerry to round this out.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to get the other. I have some other delegates that are going to share your information with. You can get their take on it.
Yes.
But hopefully I can check in the morning and let you know what else is going on.
All right, I'll be texting you and whatever, and you get the other delegates. I'm 8 to 10, and just tell them to text me first at that number, and so I can make sure they get preference, okay?
Okay,
All right,
great.
enjoy your day. You
Thanks
too.
for having me on.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Go to Joe. Joe, are you there?
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
Joe, turn him down a little bit. I'm so sorry, Joe. We had a delegate from Pennsylvania on the line that was giving us a report right from the floor this morning. The Pennsylvania delegation had Jeff Sessions in there, so I had a delegate on the line, and I'm sorry I couldn't take a call. How are you doing this morning, Joe?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic, Brian. You're doing a great job. I think I'm excited about the convention, and I think I think the thing about Melania is, I think she made a great speech. I disagree with the liberal media.
Well, Joe, we just have to, I think we always have to stay real. We know what we're up against. We know the people that we have to go campaign against. The thing about the Republicans, they don't have to campaign just against the Democrat candidate. They got to campaign against the media also. So we know that ahead of time, and we knew they were going to attack some way, somehow.
Well, Brian, I just want to tell you, I'm really excited about Steve Moore being in charge of the Trump economic plan. I've known him for 12 years.
I
My
am
son
too.
Kelly's president of Georgia Public Policy Foundation, and he had Steve down when he was president of Club for Growth. And Steve called me Sunday morning, and he said, Joe, the first thing Donald Trump's going to do when he's elected, the first day he's going to repeal the 50 illegal Obama executive orders. So, of course, that's fantastic. And Steve's written a great book, Brian, called Fuel and Freedom. And Eric Bowling has one, too, Wake Up America. Both those two books are just really great. They'll inspire you and motivate you. I know you like good books, and they're just super. But I feel great about, the stock market's up, and I think a lot of this is due to Steve Moore. I know he talks to world leaders, and I think that the American people. Oh, and by the way, great news. I just saw California, Los Angeles Times poll. Trump is now 1 point ahead of Hillary in California, Brian.
Well, that our Pennsylvania delegate, Joe, just said that California's delegation is fired up and excited. It was really good because we got a report right from the floor there, and they were telling me that California's delegation is really fired up.
Well, I tell you what, I predict. I know you're excited about Trump, and I agree with you. I think Trump's going to win with a landslide. And Steve Moore is just. I'll be glad to give you his. And by the way, I heard you mention C-SPAN. I know the guy real well. That I've been calling into C-SPAN for 35 years. And when Betty and I went to Washington, we had lunch at C-SPAN headquarters with Steve Scully. And I'll be glad to give you his cell phone off the air. He's a great guy, and I've dealt with him for 30 years. And he pretty much runs C-SPAN. He's a political director for C-SPAN, and Brian, just a wonderful person.
Well, and Joe, I only watched
C-SPAN last
I
night.
only watched the convention on C-SPAN because I don't want to hear everybody spin everything. I only watch it on C-SPAN. For years, I've only watched the convention on C-SPAN.
Well, he's great. I mean, Steve, I've been to C-SPAN headquarters several times in Washington and met with their people, had lunch with Steve. Steve's been a good friend of mine 30 years. He is a class person, and they run a very, now they don't, as you know, they don't show any political bias. I mean, I don't know what Steve, I'm just crazy about Steve. I told him when I had lunch with him, I said, Steve, I have no idea your political persuasion. He said, Joe, I don't want you to. I said, that's the point of C-SPAN. We don't want to show any leanings toward anybody, but they're just great people. And I tell you what, that's Sean Hannity and Steve Scully have really been great to me. I've been calling into both of them for years and years. And
well, Joe,
they're class people, and anyway, I'm fired up about what you're doing. You and George McClellan, I think, have the most informative and interesting hour on television, and old George can get you to laugh, can't you?
Yeah, he can. Joe, you know what? You bring up a valid point, and I've got to say this before I go. I got to go, but Donald Trump, Steve Moore is a great example that Donald Trump will surround himself with good people, and that is something that has been said about him. What would he do? He will surround. Steve Moore is definitely an example of the kind of people that Donald Trump will surround himself with and take advice from.
Well, I'm going to call Lonnie off the air, and I'll give him Steve Moore's cell phone number and Steve Scully of C-SPAN. They're both great guys. I've known them for years and years, and I'll call them and ask them if they would do an interview with you, and then you can call their cell, okay?
You do that, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Joe. I got to run.
Thank you, Brian. You're great. Bye-bye.
Okay. Folks, this morning I got a little sidetracked because I'm trying to keep up. They're busy on the convention floor there. Now, that Lee Snover, let me just say disclosure, that is my sister. She's a Pennsylvania delegate, and what she's saying is some of the delegates go there and they go shopping. They showed up for some of the speeches and they go through some of the formality stuff. She is telling you the truth. She goes in the morning for the breakfast. She goes and hears all the speakers. She goes to every rules meeting. She stays till midnight last night. She was texting, putting out pictures of Joni Ernst, so on and so forth. Does not miss a thing. She is strongly involved. That's why I wanted her take this morning on what was going on the floor, and you heard that. You heard her take. Pennsylvania, she said, is really being wooed. They're wooing them because they think they can win Pennsylvania. So, yeah, she said Ryan is 100%, she felt, on board to win this election and make sure Hillary doesn't get elected. But does he like Donald Trump? No, not really, but he's not going to stop anything. He's going to work to get him elected.